I believe the Second Amendment protects your right to own nuclear weapons. I believe an individual citizen in this country has a right to own a nuclear warhead.
But not a delivery device?
Oh, all of it, all of it.
Simple things you should have nukes and anthrax. Take a look.
The Second Amendment does not say the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed unless it can kill a certain amount of people, unless it is a nuclear weapon, unless it's a biological weapon. No, it says arms, 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 arms. Nuclear arms, biological arms, it says arms. You got an issue with that.
What if you didn't have arms, Timple? Then what?
I can certainly understand why. You have to amend the Constitution.
His show, where he sat down with two sitting members of Congress, Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they got into the topics of where the lines are drawn regarding weapons ownership in the United States. So to the average person, this, of course, is a ludicrous idea, but this libertarian wet dream isn't exactly new.
Oh, this is Jordan. We love Jordan.
This has been proposed before by some politicians. And while we're nowhere near this becoming our reality, let's take a look at it. What would it actually look like if we were able to own nuclear and biological weapons? Think about it. Americans are insane. They're hyper-violent people, and in 2020, the last year, complete data has been compiled. Over 19,000 people were shot and killed. Every single day in America, over 300 people are shot. And the reasons are often extremely ludicrous. For example, in Colorado, someone shot their neighbor because they thought their neighbor was feeding squirrels too much. In Florida, someone shot someone at a bar during a fight over spilled beer. Also in Florida, someone shot their neighbor because their music was too loud. In Texas, a guy shot 3 people because they cut him in line at a taco truck.
When I am in any state other than New York, I never yell at drivers because I have no idea if one of them will take out a gun. I feel like that's a huge deterrent to road raging against someone else because you're like, I don't know. And there have been instances where people get really angry that you cut them off and they take out their gun. What universe do you live in where someone's car being in front of your car is punishable by death?
Truck. In Alabama, a guy shot someone because they said Texas A&M's football team was better than the Crimson Tide. And again in Florida, a guy shot his brother during a fight over a cheeseburger. That's, quintessentially America. You want these people to have nukes and anthrax. There's no tactical anthrax. There's no tactical nuke in a domestic dispute, in a neighborhood dispute, in a fight at a bar. At its core, there is a fundamental disregard for other people. This is so prevalent in right-wing ideology, and especially libertarian ideology, where they put themselves first, and everything they want to do, they should be able to do, regardless of its impact on you, me, our neighbors, our fellow people. It is a purely selfish ideology. It's also an extremely easy ideology to defend. And again, this is entirely unrealistic. This isn't going to happen.
The beat in the background is going crazy.
But if you will indulge just for 1 minute, think about this. Think about how this would look. A nuclear weapon, the cheapest nuclear weapon you can obtain, is $20 million. Who has $20 million lying around? Most Americans cannot afford a several $100 emergency. So, if this were to be real, if this were to be implemented, think about how this would look. Who's going to be able to buy a nuclear weapon? The 1%. And what's great about this is, right before he launches into this rant, his co-host points out how bad it would be if the 1% were the only ones who had control over the powerful weapons in this country. So Tim, that's who would control it. It would be the 1%. Joe Farmer in Nebraska is not going to be able to buy a nuclear weapon for self-defense. It's going to be corporations. It's going to be billionaires. It's going to be the 1%. That's what it would look like. You would have nuclear...
You know what? The 1% doesn't have enough power over everyone else. We need to give them more power. The billionaires need nukes, okay?
Nuclear power corporations. This is ultimately just an extremely lazy read.
Elon would have nuked someone by now? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
on the Second Amendment, which again, that's libertarian ideology for you. And just like restrictions placed on other amendments, there are limits on what people can do within the Second Amendment. And we see that play out in how the National Guard is equipped.
I haven't noticed how he's pronouncing nuclear. Is it different?
The National Guard doesn't have missiles. The National Guard doesn't have tactical nukes. The National Guard certainly does not have anthrax. And this is such an incredible argument to make in the middle of a pandemic, because in Tim's libertarian utopia, the guy who gets cut in line in a taco truck is able to launch the next pandemic. And let's talk about how these would be stored for a second. Think about that. These are extremely complex and highly technical devices.
Yeah, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, in the middle of like a Zoom call that was public, showed off just how poorly the average American stores guns. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can find the picture. No, it wasn't Marjorie Taylor Greene. Sorry. It was Lauren Boebert. They're just so similar at this point, honestly. She has kids, by the way. Interchangeably idiotic, yes. Like, chat. I'd like to think that everyone's a little stupid, okay? Everyone's got things that they're a little stupid about. Everyone's got things that, you know, all of us have our bimbo moments, you know? But like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert they're on the next level. There's being stupid and there's thinking that like the lizard people are shooting the Jewish space lasers. That's just man. You're gone. You're not even savable at this point. You know what I mean? Whereas like not knowing which way your car wheels are supposed to point when you're uphill versus downhill. Like we do it away or towards. Acceptable level of stupid. Okay? She has guns at home. Down and towards. Up and away. Interesting. You guys turn your wheels when you park on a hill? Lauren Boebert intervened when son called 911 to report father's alleged abuse. I don't even... Wait, this is recent. I didn't even see this when it happened. Deputies found no sign of abuse on the teen when they arrived at home, according to police records. Can I close this? Representative Lauren Boebert reportedly interfered in a 911 call her son made during a domestic dispute at her home in December, according to a recording of the emergency call. The call was reportedly made by Mrs. Boebert's son, who was said to have reported that his father, Jason Boebert, had become physical with him and was throwing him around the room. He told him the operator did not know why his father was acting aggressive. And this is the household that just has guns laying around like this. This is someone who's on camera, who is a public figure, who is a well, is she a representative? Yes, she's a representative. I was like just making sure that she wasn't like a senator or something. I was like pretty sure that she was a representative. This is a government representative, chat. This is a representative that is putting their guns away like this. I don't even own any guns, and I know you're not supposed to do this. You should either be putting them like in some type of safe room, like hanging on like a wall safely. This should never be the case, ever, in a million years. You should never be storing your guns like this. She just has this one just sitting on the books. This is not... And you think these people can have nukes? That is... I forgot that this... Oh, when did I pause this? This pure delusion.
Do you think just anybody should be able to have them? Apparently so. The storage and maintenance of nuclear weapons is no stranger to mishaps. For example, take a look at Titan II. This was a facility in Arkansas that held one of the most powerful nuclear devices of all time. The warhead in Titan II was more powerful than every single bomb used in World War II, including both atomic bombs, combined. The warhead on the Titan II was 9 megatons, which is 600 times more powerful than the bomb used on Hiroshima. And if Hiroshima hit New York City, it would wipe out most of lower Manhattan. And this is 600 times more powerful. So in 1980, there was a mishap at the facility where somebody was trying to do maintenance on Titan II, and a socket got loose while they were doing maintenance, fell down the silo, landed, ricocheted, punctured the side of the Titan II, which led to a massive explosion, and launched the warhead 300 feet away from the facility. Luckily, the warhead wasn't triggered to engage and actually detonate, otherwise it would have wiped out a large portion of Arkansas. And even that a facility like this, staffed by experts, could still be susceptible to mishaps that could result in nuclear disaster, underscores just how dangerous these are. But people are so desensitized and brainwashed by pro-war propaganda that they don't even understand the consequences of a nuclear strike.
Dude, the number of people, I feel like it's like an immediate red flag when someone tells you, yeah, but the bombs we placed, I don't know what word to use there, were justified in Hiroshima because it ended the war. And it's like, dude, you are the biggest moron on the planet. Like, you have no understanding of anything, actually. Dropped. That would be the right word. Like, no, that's actually not what happened. That's not what happened at all. That's just propaganda. It's just propaganda again. Okay? Okay. It's like the same thing with people who think that the US was the first to send something to space. Or rather, was it to send a person to space? No. Russia beat us to that. We were just the first person to put someone on the moon. We were not, by any means, the first to put someone in space. But hey, just propaganda, people won't know. People will just completely forget. Russia beat the US repeatedly in the space war. Yeah, they from my understanding when we last did the research, I think we did it on stream.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki were justified because it scared the Ruskies so they didn't encroach on our sphere of influence /s.
Thank you for the /s. They were going to surrender before we launched the nuke anyways. Aware. Yeah. Russia did both a person and object into orbit way before we did. They beat us on a lot of fronts in the space race. The only thing that we ended up beating them on is putting someone on the moon. Me waiting on that /s. Yeah. Dude, I forgot how good the monka eyes emoji is. Emote. A teenager calls 911 to say that his father is literally throwing him around the house. Lauren Boebert interrupts the call to say everything is fine. I hope at least they send a cop for a wellness check. Yeah, right, man. We beat them in first primate instate. We sent a chimp up after they sent a dog up. Oh, sick. The Soviets landed on Venus and we've never even been able to do it since. Yeah. Laika. Which is fucking pointless. What have we done with the moon in the past 60 years since? Yeah, it's literally just, look, we did it. We put someone in the moon. Whereas putting things in space, in the orbit, is actually super, super, super useful. I mean, how many things are dependent on the shit we have in orbit? Almost everything. Yeah. Basically most of our tech that we use, you know? Have you seen the video of the space debris and satellites in orbit around the Earth? No, but I totally believe it. I totally believe we have a bunch of garbage surrounding our orbit. GPS, phones, internet, TV, essentially all telecommunications? Yeah. Chat. Every once in a while, I remember that people didn't have GPS, and I feel bad for those people. The days of having to take out a map and some goddamn compass or some shit. Oh, man. I used to print out MapQuest. Oh, my God. Asking for directions? Yeah. I remember having to ask for directions, when I was younger. I remember my mom would be like, hey, ask that guy for directions. And I obviously still always had fucking, oh no, social anxiety. And I'm like, I don't want to ask. I don't want to ask. And they'd be like, my mom would be like, go ask. Many such cases of asking people for directions. I remember grabbing the catalog inside of a car and having to find an address so awful. My dad tries to text me cross streets and I'm like, just drop the location in the text. Yeah. Yeah. We need to clean the debris sooner or we won't be able to leave the planet. Nice. Our dad always made sure we had maps of everything. Free exposure therapy. I guess constant surveillance is good now, Cage. That's okay. We don't actually need to leave this planet, Smile. Oh, God. Anyways. Before GPS was on my phone, I was really grateful for the grid system in my state. Yeah, I have to say, I got it, Yusarian. I have to say that thankfully, at least I grew up in New York. So everything is a grid system in Manhattan. So if someone, you can actually ask someone for directions. You don't need GPS. You can just be like, where is it? And they'll be like, it's on 19th and 4th Avenue or whatever. You'd be like, okay. You could just go there. The numbers are all there. It's very, very simple. There's not any of the weird shit that happens in other states. Oh my God. Okay, I just have to complain about one thing really quickly because I think this is a common thing that many people want to complain about. Why are there so many streets in the US that don't go through? There are so many streets in the US that just, oh, you're taking the street and suddenly now it ends or it only goes right or left. And it's like, why? Who did this? What? You can't even intuit your way. Anyways. Being a New Yorker going to Boston is so perplexing. It's like they paved that city blindfolded. Cul-de-sacs? No, I'm not even talking about cul-de-sacs. I'm talking about just normal streets in normal cities that just stop randomly. Or they only go right or left. It's like, who designed this? Who designed this? California streets are so fudged. Yeah, they're gone. They're beyond saving at this point. Let's finish this video, shall we?
Between pro-military films and video games, people don't really get a real sense of war and the horrors of it, and certainly not the weaponry used in it. The idea that anybody in this country could or should have a nuke is a laughable one, but it's one that's treated with complete seriousness by 2 sitting members of Congress. And it's not just them. Other Republicans believe this too, or at least claim they do. The guy currently trying to primary House GOP conference chair Elise Stefanik, Lonnie Coons, also proposed this. And Texas Republican David Barton, who was the chair of Ted Cruz's presidential-run super PAC and former vice chair of the Republican Party in Texas, also thinks this. He said, quote, "If you've been trained with responsibility and morality, and the concept of when and where you use them, the Founding Fathers are trained extensively in the concept of defensive warfare. You don't start anything. Now, if someone else starts it, you can take it on, but you don't start it. I don't care if my neighbor has a nuclear weapon. As long as he has that defensive concept that he will never use that unless it's being used against him." I mean, this is preposterous.
In what instance ever would you use a nuclear weapon in response to someone? What? Just the most absurd notion on the planet.
So you can look at gun violence in this country and understand that even though people might have rights to own firearms, there is no unilateral acceptance of a defensive-only strategy. That's why people are shooting their neighbors over feeding the squirrels. And at the end of the day, I do think Tim realizes this is asinine. But he's ultimately just pandering to the lowest common denominator because it's easy. Libertarian ideology is the most easy one to defend because it's easier to say, no, I don't think there should be any laws than it is to go out and articulate specifically what you think should govern society. And that's ultimately his game here. He doesn't actually care. He's an incredibly stupid individual, but the only people more stupid are the ones that listen to him. And as for the Titan II facility, it's now an Airbnb.
Pog?